So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift-A, add Mesh and Icosphere, switch the subdivisions to 5. Let me go back to solid mode real quick just so we can see what's happening here, and right-click to Shade Smooth. Then select your camera, go to the view, and switch the focal length to something close to 100 so you can get a nice up close. I'm using 102 on the focal length. Then go ahead and go to your rendered preview in Eevee, and for the lighting, we're just going to uncheck Scene World, select the built-in HDRIs, and we're going to use this forest one so we can get a nice surround view of 3D lighting. The next step is going to be making sure you have your Eevee settings set to Ambient Occlusion. Make sure you check Bloom and Screen Space Reflections and stuff like that. Basic Eevee settings. Then head over to the Shading Workspace. Go to Object Mode on your Shading tab right here. And then make sure you have your 3D viewport set up right here. Go to Rendered Preview and set up the same built-in HDRI right here. Then with your Icosphere selected, go over here and click New. We're going to call this lava. You can call it a certain kind of lava. I'll call it stringy lava just to give it some more flavor. I'll probably call it something different in the actual title of this video. So yeah, anyways, our next step is going to be hitting Shift-A, search for a noise texture. With it selected, we'll push Control-T, then move from object to the vector. If we Control-Shift and left click on this noise texture, what we need to do next is sort of distort this to where it sort of looks like it's sort of flowing. So to do that, we're going to hit Shift-A, search for another mapping node, and plug it in right here in between. Then on this mapping node, we're going to take this Z and set it to a 0.15 on the scale, just to sort of stretch things out a bit. Next step is we're going to hit Shift-A and search for a color ramp right here in front of the noise texture. So on this noise texture, we're going to switch the scale to a 16.5, the detail to a 16, and the roughness to a 0.7, with a distortion at a 0.5. Next, on this color ramp, we're going to be adding 2 extra nodes. And then we're going to be taking these 2 middle ones and making them appear black. And then the 2 outside ones, we're going to make appear white, like this. So then for the positions on these, we're going to take this middle right one and switch it to a 0.575 on the position. This left one, we're going to switch to a 0.425. And then this white, we're going to switch to a 0.3 on the position. And this other white, we'll switch to a 0.7. And this is the mask of where we'll have our lava versus where we'll have our molten rock. Then we're going to get another color ramp. So we're just going to duplicate this one actually. We're going to select this black one and hit the minus sign. Then we're going to take the whites and move them all the way to the edges. Then this black, we're going to position at a 0.5. And make sure we take our noise texture and put that into the factor of this color ramp. Control-Shift left click to preview, and we can see what's going on here. This is going to play a role in the bump. So we'll go ahead and factor that in by hitting Shift-A, search for a bump node right here. And then to give us some more space, I'm going to go ahead and grab all of this and move it a bit to the left, and then sort of organize this slightly better, just so that things are out of the way for later. So we'll take this color and move it into the height of this bump. If we Control-Shift left click to preview this bump, one thing that we'll notice is that we sort of have the height inverted. You can't really tell now because we don't have the colors in here, but to fix that, just check this invert button and we'll be fine. Nextly, just take this normal and plug it into the normal of the principled BSDF, and we are good to go on that front. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to hit Shift-A, search for a math node, and we're going to go ahead and factor into the emission strength really quickly. So switch this mode to multiply. Take the color from the first color ramp up here, take it into the value, change its bottom value to 25, and then we'll take the value of this multiply and put it into the emission strength. If we Control-Shift and left click to preview, we can see what is going on here. As we can see, we have the white here, which is where the lava is going to be. It's glowing, and where the black is going to be, it is obviously not glowing, which is what we want. Next step is a fun one. It's going to be the color of the lava. So let's Shift-A, search for a color ramp, and we've got that right here. Then we're going to take this color and put it into the factor. And then on your screen right now, I have the finished color ramp along with all the hex values you need to implement. So just go ahead and pause the video and put the nodes in the positions where they should be with their proper hex values, and we should be good to go after that. Now we've plugged those colors in. If we Control-Shift left click to preview this color ramp, we can see what is the colors looking like. So if you're wondering why it's so red right here, that's because that is where the rock is going to be. So we preview this, we can see the black is where the rock will be, and etc, etc, etc. So what this means the lava is darker under the rock, so it's not doing too much work behind the scenes. It makes sense. It looks a little wonky in here, but it'll make sense in the future when we mix the rock color into everything. So with this color, we're going to want to factor it into the emission color. So we're going to take this guy right here and draw into the emission color. And for those of you wondering what this is doing, it is just basically saying that where there is emission and there is strength going on, we want it to be these colors. And so this determines where there is emission, and this says the color of where that emission is. So as you can see, the red is going to be taking place, and it sort of gets wider towards the center of the lava, which is how it should actually be. So that's just a quick explanation of how that works. So next, we're going to be factoring in all of the colors for everything. And to do that, we'll hit Shift-A, search for another noise texture. And for this one, on the color, we're not going to take it from the second mapping node. We're going to take the vector from the first mapping node into the noise texture. Just wanted to get that clear. We're going to Control-Shift left-click to preview, switch the scale to a 50, the detail to a 16, and the roughness we'll leave there. So then we'll hit Shift-A, add a color ramp to add in the colors for this. So we're going to leave them all the way on the ends, but we're going to be switching this black value to a 0.01 on the value scale right here if we go to HSV. Then on this far side, this white, we're going to switch to a 0.05 like so. Then we're going to mix it in with the other color, the lava, to make our color for the material. So we'll add in that mix node right there. And then we will be taking the rock color into color 1, and the lava color into color 2. And the factor is going to be coming from this guy right here. Make sure we go ahead and check clamp on that guy. And if we Control-Shift left-click to preview, we can see the color we got going on right here, and it's starting to look pretty good. The rock is a little bit odd looking right now, but that's because we haven't factored in the bump or the roughness or anything. And so, yeah, this is just simply the color. So next, let's go ahead and add the roughness in. So we'll hit Shift-A, search for a invert node actually. Right here, we're going to take this color into this invert node, switch the factor to a 0.8. Then we'll be hitting Shift-A, search for another mix RGB, plug the color from this into color 1, switch the second color to a black, and then we'll be taking this color right here and plugging it into the factor. Checking clamp, and if we Control-Shift left-click to preview, this is basically saying where there's lava, it's not rough, but where there's rock, it is very rough. So we'll just take this result and factor it into our roughness, and then we're good to go there. And we'll take the color from the mixed colors right here and factor that into our base color. So if we Control-Shift left-click to preview our shader, we can see this is the result we currently have, and it's looking pretty good. So I'll show you, this is actually the finished product. I'll show you some parameters you can tweak slightly to change some things up if you want to. So the first thing is the brightness of the lava. You can lower that or raise it. Oops, that's a little bit laggy. You can lower it or raise it depending on what you're going for here, like that, simply. You actually go into the negatives, but that looks kind of alien-like actually. It's kind of cool, I won't lie. And here's a quick cool thing we can do to make the material look nicer on the circle. In addition to some other things, is we can switch this to a 1, switch this to a 0.15, as well as the X to a 0.15, and it can look really nice on the circle. And this is what you'll be seeing in the thumbnail. And to map it on other objects, such as a plane, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that really quickly. And if you go in to add this material into your scene and you notice this is happening when you put it on a plane or something, and you're like, why isn't it stretching out how it's supposed to? A quick trick you can do to fix that is go over here to this mapping node right here and change the scales on this. Switch the Z back to a 1. And as you can see, we're trying to get this to flow along the X-axis right here. And we can switch that to the 0.15. And then we can sort of get it flowing that way. And if you're trying to get this to flow along a curve, something you can do is switch this to UV project right here. And you'd have to rotate each of the faces to get it to go along the curve, obviously. And obviously this is scaled a bit too big, too small. So we can obviously mess with the scales here like this. And these are just some quick tricks you can do to fix things out. But yeah, you could put it on a UV unwrap your object and then get it to go along the curve by simply doing the UV map and rotating the faces how they should be in your UV layout, things like that. But anyways, that is how you get the material on your objects. So hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to object to vector and things like that. Anyways, that's just something I wanted to tell you before you go, so you know how to apply this to your objects properly without having to go through so much time trying to get it to work. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.